What is up guys, Zach here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play the Chaos Galaxy trading card game. To start, you'll need to build a galaxy which you'll use to then battle your opponent and gain points. The first player to 20 points wins the game. There are 4 types of cards you can put in your galaxy. There's creature cards with the subcategory of combiner creatures, resource cards, activator cards, and attachment cards. You're allowed to use any combination of these cards to build your galaxy, but your galaxy must contain 34 to 60 cards. You're allowed a maximum of 2 copies of the same card in your galaxy, and there are some cards on the game's ban list or half ban list, which is regularly updated and can easily be found on the Chaos Galaxy website, as well as a full database of every card in the game, which can be really helpful for building your galaxy. As well as this, you get 1 planet card. There are currently 8 different planets, each with a different style of playing the game, and your planet card gives you an ability which combos with creatures from that planet throughout the game. Once you've built a galaxy, you can start a game, and you and your opponent place your planet cards face up in front of you, shuffle your galaxies and place them face down in front of you, decide who goes first, then draws 5 cards each. Both players start the game with 4 stars as well. Stars are the currency of the game, and you can keep track of them using dice, coins, or anything you have around. At the start of every turn, a player gains 4 more stars. Your stars max out at 20, and once your stars reach 20, you stop gaining any. So we're now set up, and this is the hand that I've drawn. The first player, which is me, begins their turn by gaining those 4 stars. Turns also begin by the turn player drawing a card from their galaxy too, but this doesn't happen on the first player's first turn, so we'll skip that for now. And think of a turn as being 2 blocks of time where you can do stuff. The first block of time being when you can play cards, and the second block is when you can battle with cards. And these periods of time are separated by 3 actions. The first one, the beginning of your turn, is what we've just done by drawing a card and gaining stars, commonly known as draw and fall. And after this comes the period of the turn when you can play cards and spend your stars. However, to play a card, you must first play it into a zone. And there are 3 types of zones. There's creature zones for creature cards, resource zones for resource and activator cards, and battle zones, which we'll talk about later. And you can only play a card into an empty zone. If a card in a zone is killed, its zone is now empty and you can play another card into it. So to play a zone, we must pay stars. The first zone of any type costs 2 stars and then doubles with every additional zone. In this example, I want to buy a creature zone, so I pay 2 of my 8 stars and then add that zone to my planet. If I want to buy another creature zone, the cost has now doubled to 4 stars. However, no matter how many creature zones I have, if I want to buy my first resource zone of the game, that would cost me 2 stars, then 4 again, and so on. Once you buy a zone, it remains on your planet until the end of the game, except for the rare occasion where a zone can be removed by some kind of card ability. Then, if you want to buy it back again, you pay the original price as if you'd never bought it. But now I have an empty creature zone, and I can play a creature into it. So I need to cost play my creature. A cost play is performed by paying stars equal to the stars of one handed creature and then playing it into a zone. Handed meaning a card in your hand, galaxied would mean a card in your galaxy, zoned meaning a card in a zone, and killed meaning, you guessed it, a card that's killed. Combiner creatures are another type of creature card. You don't pay stars, but you can only play them by having 2 matching halves of the combiner creature. They do not cost stars, but they take up 2 zones on your planet. And combiner cards cannot be played on their own, only together when they become a combiner creature. Some cards will also give you the ability to free play creatures, where you wouldn't have to pay stars, but this can only be done if a card ability says that you can. So I've got a zoned creature, and looking at my hand, I've got quite a few resource and activator cards. So I want to spend my final 2 stars to buy a resource zone so I can play them. Resources do not cost stars to play, and there are 2 types. There's single use resources, where you play the resource, use its ability, and it is then killed. And permanent resources, which are played and remain in their zone with a constant ability until the game ends or they're removed by another card ability. As you can see, I've also got an Activator card in my hand, and Activator cards are similar to resources, but they can only be played at a certain time in a game. This is called the card's activation time, and it's written in a separate text box, and it could be any time, even during my opponent's turn, so I'll keep an eye on when to use my star dealer later in the game. I've played my cards, run out of stars, it's the first turn of the game, so I cannot attack. The turn will then pass to my opponent. My opponent begins their turn with the draw and 4. They want to pay 2 stars for a creature zone, and another 4 to cost play a 4-star creature into that zone. If we remember from earlier, I had my Activator card which read, when my opponent cost plays a creature. That's now the Activator's activation time, so I play it, get its ability, which in this case gives me 4 stars, and then my opponent continues with their turn. Now because it's not the first turn of the game, my opponent can attack, so they spend their remaining 2 stars on a battle zone. They then don't have the stars to do anything else, so the playing stage of their turn is finished and they can now battle. Once you're done playing cards for your turn, you can move any zoned creatures into empty battle zones on your planet. Once you do this, you can't play any more creatures or resources this turn, so make sure you're ready. But my opponent's battling, and a creature in a battle zone is allowed to make 1 attack, and only 1 creature can move into a battle zone. So even if you have 2 zoned creatures but only 1 battle zone, you'll only be able to attack with 1 of those creatures. My opponent wants to use their Fraxel to kill my Demonite. So when a creature attacks, you look at the attacking creature's power rating against the opposing creature's health rating. The creature with the lowest stat is killed. Think about power when it's your turn and health when it's your opponent's turn. And in this case, my opponent's Fraxel with 200 power kills my Demonite, which only has 140 health. If 2 creatures' power and health are equal in a battle, then both of them would be killed. If I look at my planet card's ability, the planet Sindel reads that after one of my Sindel creatures is killed by an opponent's attack, I gain 1 star. After my opponent has finished attacking, they move all their creatures in their battle zones back into their creature zones, and this is the 3rd instance which signals the end of their turn. The turn then passes back to me, so I begin with my draw and 4, putting my star total on 9, which means I can now cosplay the expensive 7-star Pelfam from my hand. Now if you look at my creature Pelfam, he has an ability which when he's cosplayed lets me put 1 of my opponent's creatures back into their hand, so I choose their Fraxel. Looking at what's left in my hand, I can see that my Pelfam's a powerful creature, but I have an attachment card that can make him even more powerful. Attachment cards are interesting. They can be attached to either player's zoned creatures, they don't cost you any stars, and they don't take up any zones. Instead, they must be played into the same zone as a creature. They then share the zone with the creature they're attached to, and when that attached creature is killed, all cards attached to that creature are killed too. And there's no limit to the number of attachment cards that can be attached to one single card. So back to the game, my Galactisaber will give my Pelfam an additional 70 power as long as it stays attached, putting him at 400. And the highest power of any card in the game is 500, so 400 is really good. And I now want to attack. I choose to play my Battle Conjurer resource in my hand, which adds a battle zone to my planet for free. I also have a permanent resource in my hand which can gain me stars every turn, so I want to play that too. With no cards left in my hand now, I'm done playing cards for this turn and I want to attack, so I move my Pelfam into my battle zone. Now my opponent has no creatures for my Pelfam to attack, which means there's no creatures protecting their planet card. So my Pelfam can attack my opponent's planet directly. When a creature attacks your opponent's planet, you gain points, and this is how you win the game. You round your attacking creature's power to the nearest 100, and then you gain points equal to the first digit of that number. So 400 power converts to 4 points. Creatures with 10 to 140 power would give you 1 point for a planet attack. Creatures with 150 to 240 power would give you 2 points for an attack, and so on. My attack is successful, and the score is now 4-0 to me, and my Pelfam moves back into its creature zone, ending my turn. The game continues on like this until a player reaches 20 points. The first player to reach 20 points wins. Easy.
Although attacking is the main way, you can also gain points through some card abilities. Or, if your galaxy has run out of cards, meaning you cannot draw at the start of your turn, your opponent will gain 1 point at the start of your turn instead, meaning you slowly start to lose the game.
On the channel, there's loads of battle videos which can help you learn the game too, or watch how certain cards are played. And if you want to learn more on how the game and how to get better at it, there are loads of experts and helpful people on the Chaos Galaxy Discord server. And there's always people looking to play a game online as well. They're the simple rules. There's just a few more in-game scenarios that I want to go through to explain the uses of certain cards. First, let's say we're in the middle of a battle and this is our game setup. I have a combiner creature in my hand. I have 2 creature zones, so I can play both matching halves of my combiner creature onto my planet. You can't just play one half on its own. I want to attack my opponent, but I must first buy a second battle zone, or my combiner creature won't be able to attack. So I'll pay 4 stars and add this to my planet. I can then move my combiner creature into my 2 battle zones and attack. It then passes to my opponent's turn. They cosplay Augusta, a card with an ability that can remove an empty zone from my planet. They remove my battle zone. They then don't want to attack, as their Augusta's power would not beat my health. So the turn then passes back to me without them attacking. I want to buy back my battle zone to attack their Augusta. As I have 1 battle zone, I pay 4 stars for the next one, even though that zone was already paid for and removed again. I can now attack and kill their Augusta. Scenario 2. I have a creature in a battle zone ready to attack my opponent's planet and gain me some points. When I attack with my Commander Crossbones, it would get me 2 points, but my opponent plays the activator Point Turret, which reads, when I attack their planet, the attack is cancelled and my opponent gains the points I would have gained instead. I don't want this to happen, so I can play my own activator, confusingly called Activation Activated Activator, and this card kills an opponent's activator, meaning their point turret doesn't work, and Commander Crossbones' attack can go through, giving me the 2 points.
Whilst an activator or resource card is being played, it takes up 1 resource zone. So if you want to play 2 or more activators in one chain, you'll need 2 or more empty resource zones.
Activator chains can kind of go on forever and lead to some really interesting game flipping moments. The third and final scenario, we're going to look at free playing creatures. I have a killed Orbov. It's my opponent's turn and they're going to move their Thorngeborg into a battle zone and attack my planet. Reading my Orbov, when an opponent moves their creature into a battle zone, I can free play him, so I don't pay stars and I just play it straight into my creature zone to block my opponent's attack. Cards have some other information on them that doesn't really matter for gameplay, but the bottom left of a card shows what card type it is, a single use or permanent resource, an attachment, activator or combiner card. A creature will tell you the number of stars it has instead of just saying creature card. The only other type of card that you can find is a Chaos Beast, which don't really fit the category because they're extremely powerful creatures, very rare, and there are very few in the game. But this information's there because your galaxy can only contain 1 Chaos Beast. The middle section here shows the card's rarity. This is just for collecting purposes, but the easiest cards to get are common, then rares, then really rares, then ridiculously rares being the hardest type of card to get. The bottom right of a card tells you the card's set number. And that's all you really need to know on the game.
To get into the game, you can either buy physical cards from the online store, there'll be a link in the description below, or you can play for free online using the site untap.in, where you get access to every card in the game and you can play with community members from the Chaos Galaxy TCG Discord. If you join the Discord, you'll be part of a great community who are always looking for casual games and hosting competitive tournaments, even with cash prizes sometimes. And they're a really friendly group of people who are always happy to answer questions about the game or help you get started in learning.
So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like so more people can see it and learn how to play the game. All the relevant links to the Discord, untap.in where you can play the game online for free, and the online store will all be in the description. If anything hasn't been explained clearly enough, leave a comment and I'll be happy to reply. But thanks for watching and welcome to the Chaos Galaxy.